Hey everybody, welcome back. It is spring. It's warm out and I'm really happy to be outside. It was cold this winter and well, it's just nice to have some sunlight and some fresh air. Let's do a more thorough after action report of the P42. It ran good. It's not great. I think it could be better. That's typical with every saw I build. I'm always looking for those few percent of, a little tweak here and a little tweak there. And I got a lot of comments about that saw, and I'm going to mention some of the comments I got, and let's work on that saw. There's a few things I want to do to it before I take it into the bush. And also, friends, if you like what we do here, please go over and see Ryan at Wolf Creek Saw Shop. If you like what we do here, most of the parts on this channel come from Wolf Creek Saw Shop, so it's been that way forever, pretty much, almost since day one. And they take good care of me, and I know they'll take good care of you. So if you're looking for parts, that's where I get most of my stuff from. Anyhow, let's set up on the back of the truck and talk about the saw, and let's see if we can fix a few things on it. Okay, the P42. You guys saw in the last video, I ran this saw. And it was good. It runs good. It starts good. It seems to oil okay. I'm not 100% happy with it. And so we're going to dig right into this thing and see if we can make me happy. And if I'm not happy with it, maybe I'll port it again. First things first, let's take the bar off. A lot of comments about the bar I chose. Isn't that too much bar for that saw? Maybe. If it'll oil it, it'll pull it. Now, you guys have to remember something that, and if you don't run ported saws, and this is a stock saw, then yeah, it might be a bit much. But even stock, these saws have a ton of torque. They pull pretty good. They're not fast stock, but they pull hard stock. You'd be surprised. I bet you a stalker would pull this bar and chain combo. And also remember, this is a full skip, meaning every second cutter is missing. So a little bit less load. If it'll oil it for me, it'll generally pull it. The really small saws, I wouldn't do that with. Oh, look at that. Oh, she was bunged up good. I wouldn't do this with a 50cc saw because they won't oil it and they won't pull it. But a small saw like this, or a bigger saw like this, yeah, why not? Why not try? Now, friends, this chain, I'll give you a closer look at it. Breakers are pretty high. Actually, they're not super high. You see that? This thing's really sharp. You can see the cutter. See if I can get you guys a... Okay, she's sharp. It's just that wood was so frozen, and that's what we have to deal with here in the north. It's hard to do highlight reel cutting when it's winter out. Again, there's my spacer. I think Bill Block actually made this one, if I remember correctly. That's a steel pattern bar. People were asking about how does it actually oil? Well, the oil holes, that one's plugged up already. The oil holes generally line up, so if you put your bar on here like that and you line it up, you'll see the oil holes. Most of the oil holes are in the same spot on most saws. It's the bar pattern that's different. Okay, so this is going to take that off, make this thing easier to work on. My first complaint with this saw is actually the recoil. This recoil is sticky. So let's grab a scrunch. Let's pull this recoil off and have a look-see. It wasn't retracting. And I can't handle that. It drives me nuts. You go to start the saw and the recoil retracts. Other thing, I mentioned carburation on this. I feel like the saw was going a little bit lean. I mentioned metering lever height. I don't know if that's the issue on this saw, but I mentioned that for you guys. If you have a saw that seems to run okay, but after a big cut it's going a little lean, and you know you don't have air leaks, which this saw does not. You can just tell by listening to it. It starts good and idles good. If you have a saw that, you know, it's kind of fighting you a little bit after a big cut, it almost feels like it's going lean, well, I'd be looking at your metering lever height. I bet you that lever could be moved up. I'll say a good rule of thumb, the width of the lever, okay? If the width of the lever is moved up, then generally it won't flood and you'll get enough fuel. It's just a little tiny wee bit. Okay. Let's pull this thing off. I gotta do this. You guys see I did this. See how it goes through the back? I hope you guys can see that. There you go. Okay, I couldn't get this to bolt on without it. And just as I suspected, the kill switch came loose. Okay, so we'll have to do something about that. That's why the kill switch was dying or not working. I'll just move you guys down a bit so you can see. Okay, so that's good. I'll look at these starter paws and make sure they don't have, they're a little bit worn. Sometimes you'll get a burr in the center here that'll make it grab. Yeah, see, this is worn a little bit right here. See how it's dished in? Okay, so what I'll do with that is I'll get a file and I'll actually file that flat. That's probably why it's grabbing. Maybe not, but if it's dished in, then this ends up grabbing it more and it won't release. That's what I found in the past. Maybe put a little lube in this thing. See if we can get this thing working. Just give me a second here. I'm going to go in the shop and grab some tools. These aren't stuck. I think we're good here. Just give me a second. Okay, all I did is dress that edge with a grinder. See how it's flat now? We'll see if that does the trick. This thing, maybe I'll bend it. I have a feeling that the recoil pushed it off. Again, we don't know. We don't know what's been done to this saw. We don't know anything. In fact, I pretty much only work on saws that I have no background on, because I feel like it challenges me more as a mechanic. Versus when somebody brings a saw in, they go, "Oh, I was cutting with it and it did this and this," and you say, "Let me look at your chain." And you can kind of, put two and two together. Unless I bend that. There we go. I'll just bend that lead there or something. Oh, we'll see. We'll see what it does. I don't think that's going to come off now. Okay, let's slip this back on here. Yeah, we'll do it upside down so you guys can actually see. Again, I drilled this hole in the back bigger so that you can feed this through. Because just that little difference in where the wire comes from, there is a difference. Again, make sure you don't pinch the fuel line as it goes through there. Okay, pull it over, get it to engage. Put your screws back on here. Okay, I'll just pause you guys while I'm putting the screws back on. Okay, we're not going to start this thing right now, but let's see if it gets stuck. There, that's acceptable. Just that little dish on there, they don't slide off, I find. They get hooked. It's not perfect, but it'll do. At least it's retracting now. So we'll leave that like that. Now, another thing I want to look at. I want to look at the spark plug and just see if it's going to tell us anything. Now, friends, my metering lever height may actually be this pipe. This pipe's very open. I always start open and then work my way backwards. Here's what we got here. So again, this saw is telling me it was rich. So it's definitely not that. Reading plugs is not an exact science, but I feel like I've read enough of them now that we can kind of see what's going on. I didn't run this thing a ton. I did a few more cuts than I showed. Okay, so there's that. I may leave the metering lever. Another thing I want to do, I got to rip this recoil back off, and I'll do that right now. Okay, I want to give this thing just a little timing advance. Again, that's not always necessary. I'm a little confused because there was a timing key in there, and now there is not. Interesting. Did it fall out? Strange. Well, that might be a reason why this thing was lazy. There's no key in there. I've never had that happen before. This thing ran fine. Didn't feel like it was... Look on the magnet. No. Well, maybe that's what I could feel. There's no key in here, friends. How did I put this together with no key and keep the timing on without it? I don't even know. Oh, there it is. Well, I found it at least. Well, we'll assume. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this key. I think I have a bag of keys this size. I'm going to go look for that there bag. I think I'm going to take this key and grind one in half, and I'm going to give it a little timing bump. Okay, guys, I don't have a timing key in here right now. You don't need one. The timing key is there to keep your timing in line. All I've done is I've marked where the timing is, and I've marked the flywheel, and then all I do is I slip it together, okay, and I put the washer back on. Okay, and I'll put the nut back on. Now this is going to be fairly advanced, the way I have it sitting right now. Now if you're worried about it moving, do this with the spark plug out. Okay, I'm just putting the nut on. I'll grab my impact. Okay, grab my impact. Move the starter pause out. Okay, and zing it in. Okay, there you go. Now, if I've gone too far, this thing is, it's going to kick back a lot when I pull it over. But again, the only way to know is to try. I expect this thing to be fairly kicky because I've moved it quite a bit, but we'll see. It is common on the internet and other places that if you do work to a saw, even a stock saw, you need to do a timing advance. I don't agree with that. Every saw is different. Depends on the work you've done with the saw. Play it by ear. You don't necessarily... I have saws that run best stock timing. I have saws that run best with retarded timing, and I have saws that run best with advanced timing. Don't move it too far. You know, about half the width of the key is usually a good, safe place. Okay, I'm just going to grab a business card. I'll space this. Then we can put the recoil back on and see how this thing runs. Okay guys, I actually went to start this thing. I couldn't get it started with the timing advance. I got it running now. Low jet is like 1 3/4 turns out now, way too far out. And although it runs better in some areas, it doesn't run better. Well, here, I'll show you guys. Let's see if I can recreate this. So this saw does not want a timing advance. It doesn't feel super advanced to me. It's not really kicking back when I pull it over, which would mean it's firing too soon before top dead center, which would make it kick backwards instead of going through the stroke. And also, yeah, just listen to this thing. It's got a bog now with the timing advance. Well, that's funny, friends. It was bogging. How much fuel do we have in here? Hold on, Tid, man. Slow yourself down, bud. Yeah, we're a little low on fuel. Okay, well, you disregard everything I just said, friends. Maybe this thing's a little picky to position. Okay, so I think I will leave the timing advance in there, and I'll make a few cuts with it. It seems to run a little bit better now. I was getting a bog at full throttle. It's not doing it now. So I also was holding the saw slightly down, which is where it would collect the most fuel. So I think I'm going to leave it like that. We'll see what it does. I'm not happy with the low jet. It idles better now, I think. Let's see, where are we at? Half, one, and actually we're not that far out, so we're actually at 1 and about a quarter. So you know what, I think I'm going to leave it like that, right there. Okay, let's put a little more fuel in this thing, just to make sure it doesn't have that little bog. Let's put some more fuel in here and just see. This thing runs good though, all in all. Like, friends, I'm splitting hairs here. These are the things though that a good builder does. And I'm not saying I'm the best builder, but the old timers that I know, that when you run their saws, like the Harv, Iron Horse, you run one of his saws, it's perfect. It's crisp, it comes off idle quickly, it's smooth, it idles, it just, that's how his saws run, because he does all this stuff. That's why it takes a long time to build a saw like this, because when you're moving this and tweaking that, and just, it takes a while, right? But at the end, you end up with a beautiful saw. Again, I'm still not happy with that idle screw. That's giving me trouble. But it is what it is, right? These old saws. My kill switch works, so the biggest problem with these recoils, friends, is they tend to do this, okay? The holes that go through end up getting wallowed out, and they tend to move up and down, and that's one of the reasons why they catch. These things are a little weak in the recoil. At least that's been my experience. Okay, let's fire this thing up one more time, rev it a couple times, and just see what it's going to do. Maybe I'll start it here and just run it on the bench. Okay, let's fire this thing up. Okay, well, seems to run better now. See if it restarts. Okay, we'll call that good. Okay, friends, the only other thing I want to address, a couple of you guys hit the nail on the head, that pipe. This pipe is very, very open. We're spitting most of the fuel out of the pipe. If I had shorter blowdown, I think this pipe would work better. I got, what, 22 degrees in this saw. If I was under 20, 17, 18, this pipe would be the way I would go. I've noticed short blowdown saws like a wide open pipe. I think it really helps pull. If your pipe is more open, friends, when the piston opens, it sends fuel. It sends the exhaust out easier and I think faster. And then what happens is, okay, because you have a shorter amount of time before your transfer's open, when you have a more wide open pipe, it actually evacuates the combustion chamber easier and faster, and then that short opening between the exhaust roof and the transfers allows that transfer pressure to be greater than the combustion chamber pressure, if that makes sense. Because I have longer blowdown, I think what's happening is, because this pipe's so open, it's not helping much. It's all a timed event, friends. Just because you made a pipe doesn't mean it's going to be happy on your saw. Don't be let down if you make a pipe and you're not happy with it. This pipe is going to go on my P42. This was built as a welding exercise, not as a horsepower exercise. I just built it because I had a new welder. Anyways, stay tuned. We're going to build another pipe for this. Very similar design, but with smaller diameter pipe. I'm not going to cut this one up because this one works well and I'm happy with it. It'll just go on a bigger saw. Okay, friends, I hope you enjoyed that. These are the little things that we all do behind the scenes that I'm just showing you this time. When you guys see a saw do one of those highlight reels, super crazy fast cuts, the reason is the feller did all this stuff and he made a chain that was perfect and he tested his chain and his raker height and maybe he put an 8-pin on it instead of a 7 and he adjusted his timing and all those little things are how you get from a stock saw to a really crazy fast saw. We're almost there with this one. It starts and idles good. It needs a little more time on it and it needs a better pipe, I think, or I could be wrong. We won't know until we weld one. Stay tuned. We'll build another pipe for this. Anyhow, friends, thanks for hanging out here. Take her easy.